sort of really got into music once I left school, or just a year or two before. My sister actually showed me a few chords on the guitar, and that sort of from there, that just took off from there, because it just seemed to be that I spent every afternoon straight home from school playing the guitar. I was just asked to do a gig one day, and I had a few songs under my belt. You know, done the gig, threw up, stage fright, but loved it. You know, absolutely loved it. And then from that stage, literally just went to a local bar, asked them did they want some music on. They said yes, and one thing led to another. It hasn't stopped since. First got into carpentry because probably the main reason being that my father was a carpenter, so it seemed like a natural thing to get into. So when it came to leaving school, I had an interview set up for IT. I had another interview set up with a government training centre in Boucher Road to do joinery, carpentry, and decided to take up the carpentry, and just never really looked back. The way the joinery sort of got involved with the guitar making, the company Loudon Guitars were looking for someone at that time. While I was there, I made sure that I learned every single aspect of it, because there are quite a number of aspects of guitar making. I made a few of my own instruments with that company, and I made sure that I made every single bit of it the whole way through. I didn't want somebody to sort of say to me, oh, I'll bend the sides for you, or I'll cut the sound hole for you, or, you know, just because that was their job. But I didn't want them. What I wanted them to do was to show me how they done it. So I learned from the guys who were doing thousands and thousands of these things. So the best teachers. The first thing you need to think about is the woods. You need to get the woods in, get them seasoned, which means getting them nice and dry. And it can take up to 2 years, because the wood, when you buy the wood, it's not ready to use. You have to put it in a kiln, dry it, and leave it on a shelf in a dry room for a couple of years before you can use it. The tops of the guitars are basically two bits of a softwood, spruce, cedar, made very, very thin. So thin that you have to put braces on the inside of it to stop it from falling apart when you put the strings on the guitar. And it's these braces on the inside, and this pattern of braces which creates the sound in the guitar. The backs of the guitars are just same two pieces of wood joined together, and some braces on the back. The braces actually also create a curve on the top of the guitars. It's very important that a guitar has a curve. The neck's joined to the body by a little dovetail joint, and then once the neck is on, the guitar's fretted. Goes into their spray shop behind me here, and Robert in there sands the guitars and sprays them. They come back in here just to get the final little bit put onto them, putting the strings on, the machine heads, put in the box, and away it goes. There's quite a lot of it is all done by hand. The necks are made in the machine shop they come to a certain degree, and then from that stage on we start using all these old traditional spoke shaves, Japanese carving knives, and that's all. I just sit with the neck on the knee and carve away the neck. And it's lovely working with tools, you know, Japanese saws, Japanese chisels. You know, it's lovely working with all these tools rather than coming in and pressing a button and then going and having a coffee. You know, that doesn't interest me. The sound of our guitars is a very, it's a balanced sound, so you hear a little bit of everything, a little bit of bass, a little bit of treble, a little bit of mid, and you don't hear that in a lot of instruments. Most instruments are either very trebly or very bassy. Some can be very muddy, some are too clinical, too jangly, and ours don't have any of those things. So when you hear a guitar that's very well balanced, I always like to have a look to see whether it's one of mine, you know. When it comes to actually getting the strings on the guitar and sitting playing and listening to it for the first time, I mean, that gives you a good buzz, you know, knowing that the instrument has turned out well. Even when you walk in through the door in the morning, the smell of the wood, you know, I just love that, you know. I wouldn't like to be doing anything else, I don't think.